series of 5 lunchtime webinars to be hosted by SIMERA in the coming weeks. I hope you are able to see my screen and able to hear me clearly. Before we get started, just a few housekeeping points. So this session will be recorded and we will notify you when it will be made available on the SIMERA PLM YouTube channel. Also during the session, please list any questions you have in the chat box. We'll try to address these in the Q&A session or even before if possible. So I am Marius Crinier and with me today is my colleague Henny Root. Today we will cover in brief a question that is regularly put to us. We have PLM or we are planning to implement PLM, but how do we scale PLM within our organization and beyond? So the key takeaways for today's webinar is to understand the dimensions that affect the scaling of PLM. Understanding the challenges with scaling PLM especially between engineering and manufacturing. Then understand product complexity and product ranges and how that can be addressed through PLM components such as configuration management and change management. Then we'll have a discussion on how to practically scale up PLM usage. Okay, so in the previous webinar, which is now available on the YouTube channel, SIMERA PLM, I presented the key capabilities of PDM and PLM. Most companies do not fall neatly in a PDM or PLM box. Every company's requirements typically fall somewhere in between, either with what they want today or where they want to go to tomorrow. However, what we are seeing with many companies, large and small, is the desire to get started by taking control of designs, documents, BOMs, and change, and grow from there to a PLM system. A PLM extends the benefits of PDM to support the whole business across the product lifecycle with specialized applications for engineering, procurement, purchasing, supplies, customers, and services. The definition of scalability is the capacity to be changed in size or scale. So therefore, scalability within PLM is the ability of a PLM resource to be used with an increase in products and extend the range of capabilities. There are multiple dimensions over which scalability can be measured. So let's have a look at a few of them. So administrative scalability, this is the ability for an increasing number of users to access the PLM system. For example, a PLM system is scalable because more users can be added. However, the server on which the PLM run can only handle a limited number of users. So that's also something you need to keep in mind when scaling. Functional scalability. This is the ability to enhance the PL system by adding new functionality without disrupting existing activities. Then geographic scalability is quite important. That's the ability to extend the PLM system from a single site to multiple sites. Loading scalability is where you have the ability for a PLM system to expand or contract to accommodate heavier or lighter loads. Also very important is the generation scalability, the ability of the PLM system to scale by adopting the latest release of a PL component. So if there's a new release of your CAD, CAM, or whatever software you're integrating with PLM, will the PLM system be able to handle that new version or not? Then very importantly, heterogeneous scalability. That's the ability of a PLM system to adopt PLM components from different vendors. Let's say you are using Siemens PLM. Can it then integrate with CAD software from other vendors? The quick answer to that is yes. But now that we have a better understanding of what scalability is, but before you start scaling PLM, what are the challenges? So PLM helped a lot to sort out product complexity with configuration management. However, the problem now is how to scale up PLM in the organization. The first challenge is that people need to use PLM in the organization. PLM failed massively if engineering and manufacturing used emails to collaborate. PLM collaboration is very successful when you think about two designers working together on the same feature. However, it's different when you think about design engineers and manufacturing engineers collaborating. So collaboration is one of the main areas of PLM that enjoyed development attention the past 10 years. So this included design to manufacturing, which is probably one of the most important collaborative processes if you think about how PLM implementation can scale up in an organization. However, it is different when you think about, however, there are some challenges. So first challenge is environment separation. In most of the situations, designers are living in their CAD PDM world. At the same time, manufacturing engineers are on top of MRP, ERP environments and working on their manufacturing bill of material driven processes. If not integrated, PLM can fail to scale up and establish a scalable process between these two environments. Then secondly, common goals and synchronization. As mentioned, designers and manufacturing work in different environments. This makes it difficult to define a common goal or follow this goal in their daily operations. In addition, they spend a lot of time synchronizing their environments. This takes a lot of effort with engineering and manufacturing having regular meetings and trying to synchronize information between them in those meetings. Then push processes. How to get work done in the modern manufacturing organization. Unfortunately, email is probably the most widely used mechanism. And this is really bad because it creates a ping pong of information going back and forth between people in the organization. This is an environment where Excel is king of the email road. PLM process scalability is the place where many PLM implementations fail. If a PLM system cannot extend beyond the engineering department, then it will become a tough challenge. Such PLM systems will require massive customization work and enormous efforts, making people working together. So we come across the following two reasons why many companies do not want to implement PLM. First, PLM is too complex. People dislike PLM system because they are not useful and hard to implement. On the other side, when people can see the results of PLM implementation, they are amazed to discover how PLM implementation changed the way organizations can design, manufacture, operate, and in the end, make money. People are looking for PLM solutions that are easy to use, presenting them the right data at the right time and in the right context. So complexity is the #1 problem that needs to be resolved in PLM. Then second, PLM is too expensive. Cost is always a contentious issue. PLM was considered a system implemented by large companies where cost was not a big issue about 20 years ago. The picture has changed since, and the number of smaller companies are growing. However, smaller companies need to optimize the way they can work. Free software may get you started with PLM, but is there enough in the freeware to address your business requirements? Do base models of the software go deep enough to cover your core business use cases, or will you need to pay more for add-on functions? How easy is it to get started? Whether you get freeware or purchase licenses, is the software too complex to deliver immediate value? Therefore, we recommend that companies consider the cost holistically when selecting a PLM system. The simple reality is that today's products are complex. They are complex to design, complex to produce, and complex to support. Product complexity has made the job of developing and delivering profitable products more difficult. Therefore, the effective management of product complexity in all of its forms is an important business issue. So let's look at 5 critical dimensions of product complexity to achieve maximum profitability. So first, mechanical complexity. Engineering advances have allowed engineers to design more functional products and make them smaller and less expensive. Manufacturers are employing platform-based designs and using modular design techniques. These approaches might reduce complexity through design reuse, but it adds complexity to configuration management. Then mechatronics. So cyber-physical systems are developed to create smarter products. Cyber-physical systems goes beyond the mechanical and electronics engineering domains to include software development. Cross-domain engineering adds significant complexity to product development. Then global markets. Leading companies are introducing products in multiple markets where a one-size-fits-all approach is not sufficient. Then global design and manufacturing. Products are designed and manufactured globally at various sites. Life cycle profitability. The later stages of the life cycle are critical to the total profitability of a product and require more involvement from downstream resources. So PLM was designed to manage the complexities inherent to engineering and product development. Two of the critical challenges in designing and manufacturing quality products are change and configuration management. So let's briefly look at these two. So let's first look at configuration management. For standard products, there are two common approaches. One is to start from a design, iteratively derive similar standard products over time, increasing size, capacity, or add additional features. The other is to define a platform upfront, which configured to a specific standard offering. Electronics and consumer goods are often follow these, like mobile phones, often follow these patterns, as well as machinery and other industries where high volume manufacturing is the norm. So for configure to order products, the definition includes a combination of product planning to decide what features to offer, rules constraining the default options, and combination of those features. Generally, the theoretical combination of product configuration is so large that it's impractical to configure into standard products. There might be billions of combinations. A relatable example of configure to order products are passenger cars. There are many colors, feature combinations, and packages of features, but any valid order can be built without additional engineering required to fulfill that order. Then there's engineering to order. ETO products are bid, engineered, and built in response to a specific customer order. The product may not be more complex than configure to order products, but the decision to execute the business in this fashion may be based on a number of factors. For low volume production, engineering solutions in advance may not be practical. For solutions with site or application specific requirements, flexibility in modeling is necessary. For example, equipment installations in a facility such as switch gears. For some solutions, analysis and computations are necessary to simulate the operation of the solution to determine another supporting requirement. For example, the cooling requirements for equipment is a complex function of the equipment, its operating profile, and environment. And there are many products that are a combination of configure to order or engineering to order. So Siemens team seem to provide a PLM solution that covers the entire product range. So let's look at change management, but specifically the integrated change management. So with change management in PLM, you have the power of the PLM backbone to help you make smarter decisions and drive smarter changes. A common change solution across all PLM functions support integrated control of all assets from requirement management, product and configuration definition, design, manufacturing, planning, documentation, shop floor work instructions, and after-sales services. So A second function within change management is comprehensive impact analysis. With impact analysis capabilities in PLM, you can understand the complete scope of impacted data, people and processes across functions, departments and regions. Suppose there is a change required in a subassembly. With the integrated ecosystem, you can get to all products that would be impacted. The requirement which get impacted, does the change to the subassembly still adheres to the document requirements and targets? What would be the impact to manufacturing processes, tooling, equipment? Will there be a change to the plant layout? Does the change need any communication to the field or the products which are already in production? So change management help you make the optimal decisions and faster implementation. This is made possible through the integrated control of your assets. That is CAD, engineering, BOM, manufacturing BOM, tooling, equipment, and plant operations, etc. And with that, I'm handing over to my colleague, Henny Rutt.
Thank you, Marius. Yeah, I will be speaking briefly about how to practically scale up your PLM usage. The detailed steps to scale up PLM usage is different for each company that have made the decision to implement a PLM system, but a general approach can be followed. But before that, there is some points to keep in mind before embarking on the PLM journey. The first one is to start small and expand PLM functionality in stages. PLM can easily become very complex very fast. Starting with too much PLM right at the start can scare off end users who will feel overwhelmed with a complex system that they are expected to use. End users might try to circumvent the PLM system in this case. This staged approach can also assist the company with cash flow, as only the PLM software licenses required for that specific implementation stage need to be purchased. Secondly, and very importantly, management buy-in is important for using the PLM system. People are generally creatures of habit and do not like change. Without management support, the PLM system is doomed to fail, as end users might try to return to the old way of doing things. Hence, people are usually creatures of habit and prefer to do things the way they have always been done. Thirdly, have a roadmap planned out for when you want to have what implemented, no matter what implementation strategy you decide on. This will help to prevent losing focus on the PLM implementation milestones that must be reached. Having no roadmap can leave the PLM system implementation open-ended with no end in sight. And finally, after the initial end user training in the use of the PLM system, targeted, continuous or regular on-the-job training of the end users are needed to make sure that they know how to use the PLM system properly and is comfortable with how to operate the system. Now, as mentioned previously, a sensible way to start with PLM is to implement PLM in stages, starting small and then expanding the PLM system as end users become more comfortable and used to the PLM system. My recommendation would be to implement the PDM, product data management part first, get all the documents, CAD, CAE, designs, and other project data, etc., into the PLM system, and have the end users perform their work from this new system. When end users are comfortable with how the PDM system works, new functionality can be added, such as workflows, requirements management, and visual dashboards for the workflows. And when users are comfortable with these new features, more functionality can be added, such as change management, easy plan for manufacturing, model-based systems engineering, just to name a few features. It should be noted that from this stage on, it depends much on the company's needs and what additional functionality they would eventually need to have implemented. The implementation strategy, however, still holds true in the sense that the PLM implementation should be done in manageable, smaller stages than in big, large chunks. Note that with the implementation of the PLM system in smaller stages, targeted training of end users can take place on the new functionality being implemented at the time of the implementation of those new features. This will help reduce the end users from feeling overwhelmed with a large amount of information they need to take in, as would be the case if a full PLM system was implemented in one single large step. Also, other systems such as MES systems, which are manufacturing execution systems, or ALM, which are application lifecycle management systems, or ERP, enterprise resource planning systems, to name a few systems, can be implemented as standalone systems that run parallel and unconnected with the PLM system. And at an appropriate time when the implementation is ready, these systems can be integrated with Teamcenter or your PLM system. Now, of course, there are always exceptions to rules, and an exception to the PLM implementation strategy discussed can be when a company implementing PLM is a new startup company with no legacy data or employees, and has the required resources, financial and technical, for all the PLM functionality that they need. In this case, all the PLM functionality can be put in place right at the start and have end users start using the PLM features as and when needed. And as the company grows and matures, more and more functionality and workflows, etc., can be developed. Also, being a startup company, all end users will start without any other existing company systems or ways of working, which should make adoption of the PLM system much easier. The detailed implementation steps of PLM at each company is unique, but the discussed strategy of staged implementation is a good starting point when determining the PLM implementation strategy in detail. Thank you, Marius. Over to you.
Thank you, Annie, for that sound and very pragmatic advice. So I would like to finish off with the following advice. So when you are selecting a PLM system, here are the top 5 things to consider before making your decision. Are you consider cost holistically? So when evaluating PLM technology, consider cost holistically to get a realistic scope of your required PLM spend. Then, what are the PLM deployment options? Can it be deployed in the cloud? Or is it only cloud deployable? Is there an option for on-premise deployment? Will you be working with experts who can recommend deployment best practices based on years of experience? Would the PLM solution you're evaluating make you a better at developing your products? Does it work well with authoring applications such as CAD or CAM tools to make your users more productive? Does the system have an open architecture to allow for integrations to existing systems within your organization? Will you have the security options needed to keep your IP safe? This is a very important consideration in this day and age. Is the PLM vendor and software tried and true? So how big is the company? How long has this company or PLM provider been around? Is there a risk that they will be acquired by another software vendor? So these are the top 5 considerations. So on that, what's the next step? Well, when you're considering these 5 steps or considering how to implement PLM or how to scale your PLM, we are here to help. You can either contact me, Marius Cornier, at the email on the slide there, or our colleague Hanu Stein. And I would recommend that you try out Teamcenter X, a free trial, at the website shown on the screen, or you can follow the QR code. Or if you're within the manufacturing environment, try out Teamcenter Manufacturing Easy Plan. So, as mentioned, this was the second webinar in a series of 5. The recording will be made available on the YouTube channel along with the recording of the first webinar. But we invite you to the upcoming lunchtime environments. Next week, Hannu Stein and Henny Ruth will talk about push and pull workflows within an engineering and assembly environment. Then, after that, we will look into NXCAD and the reasons why people use NX. And then we'll finish off with SimCenter, digitally predicting the future by using SimCenter simulation tools to predict performance. And with that, I'm opening up the floor for any questions. Any questions on people already using PLM and having problems across departments? Yes, Shade, your hand was first, so Shade, go first.
Thanks. Yeah, just on the trial, the Teamcenter X3 trial. How does it work? You obviously have to register for that, and then how long does the trial last?
So if you follow that, or you can just Google it, if you follow that link or just Google Teamcenter X3 trial, you will just register with a few details, but then it's an online application, so you don't need to install anything. It's more like a guided tutorial, but it allows you to interact with the software. It's got preloaded data on it, and there are workflows that you can follow, and you've got about 30 days then to use that trial, but you'll need much less time than that just to go through the trial, but it's available to you for 30 days.
Okay, great, thanks. Thank you.
Pleasure. Elwin.
Hi, yes, thanks, Marius, Henny, and Anna. So we're basically, Henny is familiar with our system as well. We're basically at that PDM stage now, and we're still trying to find our feet. Navigate. I think we're doing okay. But I see that as we continue, we're not many users on the system. That people are we've had a year of lots of questions, lots of people complaining about using the system, and it was basically I think, like Henny also mentioned in his first slide, it was a lack of training. So we've learned that lesson. But what I would like to ask is, and then he actually addressed all those questions, or the questions that I had in my mind in his first slide about the roadmap and management support. So how important is it to know where you are going if you start off with PDM in our case? Because initially when we started out, we had this whole grand idea of just doing everything at once and then to do change management as well. But my question is it possible to how flexible is it to make changes and sort of if you don't have management support, is it possible do you think as just a normal employee that's supposed to do design work and manage configuration, would you recommend convincing management to have a champion that's inside the organization to sort of spearhead the effort in combination with vendors, suppliers of the PLM systems? Or would it just be a matter of just eating pieces of the elephant bit by bit, under the constraints of having lots of other work to do as well? I'm asking that because it sort of is my responsibility at SALT now to manage this Team Center installation that we have. But I find that with all my other work, things just get pushed aside, and people just manage the system as it works for them. But obviously, we have this idea of where we want to be, but it just never becomes a priority.
No.
Any suggestions?
I think I'll let you answer that question,
Okay.
because I can see you're sitting, but before I answer that, Alan, we were actually discussing this yesterday, and scheduling can be a big problem because where different stakeholders or different parties are not aligned with time. And as you've said, other stuff is coming up. There are priorities to get work done, to get products out of the door, and then PLM implementation can sometimes take a back seat to that. So yes, that is a real problem, not just with yourself, but with a lot of other companies. Hanu, over to you.
Yeah, let me start. Just hi everybody. Just let me start with I feel your pain. I've also been in a past life exactly almost where you were, and the answer is twofold. Yes, you eat an elephant by bit, and sometimes it takes a long time to get through the bits. PLM integration can be a fairly quick thing, or it can be, I don't want to say a lifelong thing because it never should be that long, but it can be a long drawn out thing. And to a great extent, it depends on management support. If everybody feels and is in support that, yes, this is important, it must happen, then it can go quick, simply because it's being forced down from management, that this is the way we're going to work. In terms of your question about the champion, yes, absolutely. Somebody needs to, and it doesn't need to be the full-time job, but you need to have a champion inside the organization that can at least drive the internal adoption. And it's more of an internal adoption. The nitty-gritty work, the back-end work, the administration, there are people that can assist. I mean, you know us, we've assisted you in the past, but you need somebody inside the organization that's there every day, that can hear the people's moans and groans and either write it down or assist, quickly run over, but that takes time. And that is usually the problem where, I mean, in your case, that's one of the tasks and maybe not being seen as the most important task. So that becomes a problem. But yes, you need somebody internal that can be the champion, even if it's just that champion every now and again sends out an email and say, rah, remember to, and a one-liner, all documents must be on Team Center. I think for one thing is, I think you guys are doing good. I mean, Team Center can be a beast. It is a beast. It is always very important, at the very least, to get people on the system, to create the documents on the system, because once you have the documents on the system, it's under configuration. Now it's an item that you can do something with, and you may not start the first day with engineering change, a formal engineering change processes on Team Center. You might have one in the company, or you might not, but you want to still sort of at least track the change, make people notice or aware that there's a change. And you can start very small. Literally, if it's under revision control, if something change, people can see, hey, this is not the newest one. Why is there a new one? And it can grow into a formal ECP process, and you can change that ECP process. I think most of the front end stuff, in terms of workflows, in terms of methodologies, how you work, that can be changed. That usually change and evolves as the company evolves. There's a couple of 1 or 2 back-end stuff that really is, if you start changing that fundamentally, then it becomes interesting on Teamcenter side. But that usually it's less than the work method at the front end. So I mean, as long as you can get all your people to at least work on Teamcenter, create their documents on Teamcenter and not somewhere on a hard drive and then try to upload it. You can do it like that as well. It's just it's wasting time because you're going to sort of have to do it twice. Set up your Word, set up your NX, set up all your application that runs IP type generation of data, set it so that it works directly in Teamcenter, and teach the people to forget about the rich client, almost use Word to create their documents. Once they get into that sort of feel that it's still Word, I don't have to do anything else, it's not fancy, it's Word, then it's more likely that they will start to use it, and at the end they'll just sort of use it and not even realize they're doing it on Teamcenter. I know the newer Active Workspace and that integrations is becoming really nice. I was in the old days not a big fan of Active Workspace. It's becoming a really nice integrated tool into the Teamcenter family, where it's not the scary application you have to open up and try and figure out what to do. It's a web page and it's fairly straightforward what you do there. So stuff like that I think will help adoption. Now I've been talking quite a bit now. Does any of this answer any of your questions or point you to new questions?
No, for sure. Thanks, Arno. Most of the things that you mentioned, I've sort of realized in my using of like, just for instance, I hardly use my the Teamcenter interface when I do on NX. I do everything from NX. My searches, everything. So, and I've started teaching that to the other people who do NX as well. So it's things like that, and I think I should do the same with the Word, the document implementation as well. So yeah, it all makes sense what you're saying. And then I have this project that we're running now that I sort of managed technically. And what I did now is I did this whole project, our documentation and our CAD and our analysis. It's all in NX and on Teamcenter. So I hope now that once we've integrated into the telescope, I'll present that as what Teamcenter can do for managing our changes and just our bill of materials, our structure. As a motivation to management, like this is everything we can do on one platform. So
I think the important thing there as well is what you can highlight is you now, by going to Teamcenter, because everything is done in Teamcenter, by going to Teamcenter, you can get the full configuration, the full bill of material, the full digital twin, to throw in a nice buzzword, of the actual hardware that's installed. And if you want to make changes, you can refer back to that data set to now go and determine the influence. So if you want to change a bolt, you can go, where is that bolt used? Can I just simply change it? You don't have to go back to the hardware for every time you want to change something and say, well, can I actually do it here? Oh, no, I can't do it. Oh, I can't fit this thing in here, because you've got this digital twin now. Changes is where you're going to see the biggest benefit and where management will see the biggest benefit, because they can now sit around a meeting and say, well, we want to change the following thing. And there's no PowerPoint presentations that needs to be created. You simply open up Team Center, you go and you look at the actual thing that is there, and you go, well, we want to change the following thing. You can do a markup there. You can throw it into an ECP process, be it a heavy big one or a small one that's custom. I mean, that's literally up to you. And you can immediately get people on the system involved and say, well, we want to change the following thing. Optics, can we do? Thermal, can we do? Structure, can we do? Software, can we do that? You can even bring the astronomers in and say, can you do that? Is it something that's beneficial for you? And it's all in the same system, and all that discussion is being tracked by the system. So at the end, if everybody goes yes, then you can just tell an engineer, all right, now go and implement this thing. It's been discussed. There's all the traceability you need. 2 years from now, you're going to go, why did we change that thing? You can just go back to the system and everything is there. It's not in emails and in team discussions and all over the place. It's all located in one spot.
Yeah, no, for sure. Thanks.
I would just like to add, I think, 3 things. Active Workspace is now much more comprehensive, much more features capabilities. So when I first started using Reach Client, it was a bit overwhelming. However, what you're already doing, and something that Henny did a lot within SIMERA, is the show and tell. Because the more people see how you use Team Center, the more they become aware of it, and the more they'll start asking you questions, and the more they start to see the value in it. When it comes to management, they want to see the value of their investment. And the biggest value of a PLM system is the time saved. So research in the States have shown that engineers spend up to 25% of their time on administrative tasks during product development, just searching for product data. So that's 1 day a week, and that's 3 months a year. That's almost non-value added activities. So that's the biggest saving that you make, is time saved through all of the workflows and all of the activities within PLM. Secondly, the higher quality of work, less errors by when not sharing the right product data. And then last point is security. Please don't store your product data on SharePoint or any other less secure storage, online storage devices. But yeah, that's it from me. Any other questions? Or
No, nothing from my side. Thanks.
well, with that, if you have any questions, Shahid, please go ahead.
No. I just want to say thanks. Thank you. It's very informative.
No, thank you very much. As I've said, we'll make this recording available, and please share that with your colleagues, and we hope to see you at the next webinars. And with that, I'll stop the recording, and I hope you have a very enjoyable Easter weekend. And then, yeah, hope to see you soon.